World Mission Report.
Jungle Miracle Part 1 June 21st, Army, Indonesia. A little girl studying at the Jungle Mission School told her teacher, Army, about a mother who couldn't walk. Army hadn't come to the mountains of Papua, Indonesia to treat anyone. He wasn't a doctor, and he didn't know much about medicine. He was a missionary who had come to the Jungle Mission School to teach children about Jesus, the master physician. But his heart was touched when he heard about the mother who couldn't walk. He and a fellow missionary decided to hike 8 hours up the mountain to visit the woman in her remote village. Army and his friend found the mother in a small grass hut. She was crying in pain on a bed. Her right knee had an open wound, and it was swollen. Army and his friend couldn't understand much of what she said. She couldn't understand much of what they said. They spoke different dialects, but through hand gestures, the mother explained that she had fallen out of a tree 7 years earlier and hadn't been able to walk since. The village was so remote that doctors and hospitals were not an option. After the fall, her husband abandoned her, leaving her to raise 4 children. The mother was glad for the visit. She had lost all hope. She made it clear that she was placing her new hope on Army and his friend. "Help me to walk again," she pleaded. Army and his friend stepped outside of the hut. They needed to pray to the master physician. "Lord, please give us wisdom," Army said. "Show us how to help this woman even though we don't know much about medicine." Back inside the hut, Army and his friend carefully cleaned the wound. Beads of sweat broke out on their faces. They were worried about making the wound worse. Neighbors gathered in the hut to watch, and Army and his friend really began to sweat. They wondered if their lives might be at risk, with the neighbors watching their every move. Then Army spoke to the woman about Jesus. "Only one person can heal you," he said, using hand gestures to help her understand. "That one person is Jesus." The mother had never heard of Jesus. None of the neighbors had ever heard about Jesus. They practiced a form of mysticism. "I don't know anything about your Jesus," the mother said, "but I'll accept whoever can restore my health." After cleaning the wound, Army offered the only natural remedies that he had in his backpack: charcoal and vitamin C tablets. He then invited the mother and neighbors to pray. Opening his eyes, Army saw that the mother and neighbors were crying. He panicked, wondering what was wrong. The neighbors, who also didn't speak his dialect, explained the prayer had moved their hearts. "It was like someone was interpreting your prayer into our ears," one said. "We could feel a presence surrounding us while you were praying," said another. Then Army turned and saw the mother's face. It had changed completely. Once a picture of pain and suffering, it now was glowing with joy and peace. Army promised to return the next week to check on her progress. Army and his friend hiked the 8 hours back home. As they hiked, they prayed. How could they make a phone call to get medical information to help the mother? Where could they find a cell phone signal? They were living in the mountains and had not received a cell phone signal in months. Pray for the unreached people of Papua, Indonesia. Part of this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering will help construct classrooms, an administrative building, a library, and an auditorium for Papua Adventist Theology College. The college moved to Nabire after its previous campus was destroyed by a flood in another part of Papua in 2019. Currently, students meet in borrowed classrooms at an Adventist academy. Thank you for planning a generous 13th Sabbath offering to support the college next week. Find out the rest of Army's story next week.